Hi friends, thank you so much for joining me for another video. You may have seen the flip through that I did in a previous video of this album that used the Lori Whitlock Back to School collection. And it's basically the prototype for this album, which is using the Magical Birthday collection from Echo Park. This album is made from 11 by 17 cardstock, but I will show you how to make the base from 8.5 by 11 as well. It is pretty simple either way. There are quite a few interactive elements in the book, including this waterfall with the ribbon closure, some pockets that have some fold-outs, and some tags. And there are some magnetic elements in this book as well. There are two here. There's a floating pocket. Oops. Tucks under there. And two side pull tab pockets. And here, this area for a photo is magnet. It is on top of a pocket that has 4 vertical tags or vertical cut apart that I made into tags. They have places with the designer stock on the back for photos. Oh, and then this one also has a place for journaling and a photo. So if you stay tuned through the end, this is going to be a little bit of a long video, but if you stay through to the end, you can see the important part that I forgot about and how I fixed it. So stay tuned. So I am going to use 11 by 17 paper today, but I am also going to show you how to make this folio spine with 8.5 by 11 paper. So I'll show you both ways. This particular style, it works well with, of course, this size paper, but I noticed that there's also 12 by 24 paper at some of the craft stores now. And so this, of course, would work. Your dimensions would be a little different, but the same kind of design would work out. So first thing that we're going to do is we are going to take 2 sheets of 11 by 17. Both of them we're going to score the same way. We're going to score at 1 inch. And at 9 inches. Same thing for our second one. Score at 1 inch. And at 9 inches. We'll just go ahead and burnish these, fold them and burnish. And fold and burnish. And we're just going to glue these two pieces together, one on top of the other, and that's going to be our 1-inch spine. So I'm just going to kind of flatten these out just a little bit more, just so they're easier to deal with while I'm gluing them. I am using a new lighting today, and I'm just getting used to that. So I know that there are some shadows in some places that I didn't expect, but I'm just going to keep going and maybe just adjust in between as we go. I did this thing where I tried to glue a little, this is one of those like mirror sequins to my pin, because I lost my pin again in the carpet in the living room. So I'm sure that I'm the one that's going to find it with my foot, but I decided to be smart about it and attach something a little bigger to it this time. So I'm just putting a good amount of glue here, and I'm just going to line these up. It's kind of hard to do with the light, where the light is, but I'm just going to use this other score line as a guide. And you want it just inside that score line because you want that score line to have full range of motion. Let's see. Okay. I don't know if you can see the top of my fat head. So that's it for the base of our book with the 11 by 17 paper. You see we have a 1-inch spine, and then we have 8-inch pages, and it just kind of opens to this side and this side. Now you might think that a 1-inch spine is pretty big. You can see we've got a lot of room to grow, but full disclosure, not only, I do have a rosette in here, so that's a 1/4 inch. But there was a lot going on in this. There are a lot of layers in this book. So it gets, you know, and this is the build of the book completed without any photos or ephemera or journaling in it. So it's already almost 1 inch on this side. So this is the one with the 11 by 17 paper. Let's do one with 8.5 by 11 paper. So we are going to first make something like this. And in order to do that, we are going to first score I must have put coffee on here. It needs to be cleaned. We're going to take 4 pieces of 8.5 by 11, and we are going to score each of them at 1/2 inch. So you can do it on this side or this side. So you do all 4 of them this way. I have 2 that are already done. And then you are going to take a scrap or cut a 1-inch wide strip that is 11 inches long, and that's just going to be a little hinge for us. So you may see where this is going. We are just going to glue 2 of our pages to this strip of paper. And so you could do this a couple different ways. I find that it's easiest if, for me, if I go ahead and score and burnish, I already scored, but burnish each tab, it just kind of makes it easy to kind of slide the page in and fit it in. So I'm just going to take some glue, run it down this 1/2 inch piece. Just going to move it this way. It'll be easier for me to see the top and the bottom. Just kind of lean it in there. I'm going to do the same thing. One more of our pieces. We're going to fold and burnish. And you can see I do that. There we go. Just right next to the other side. Sorry, it'll make more sense if I flip it over. I just have them just butt up right against each other with that 1 inch strip of paper as the guide, as the hinge. And then you might see where we're going, but we're just going to go ahead and score these other, going to score these other 1/2 inch marks. Burnish. And one of these is going to go on each end. So again, however you want to, in the front or the back. There we go. And the same on this side. You can see that. I didn't even look to see if you could see what I was doing there. So this one goes on this end the same way. So you can see how the 11 by 17 paper makes quick work of this, but it still doesn't take, you know, maybe an extra minute or two to do it with the 8.5 by 11 pages. So I'm going to be using Magical Birthday Girl today. So I'm going to use this today. This is one of the paper pads rather than the collections, and they're all single-sided, which is cool because then you don't have to decide what side of the paper that you want to use. You get to use each side of the paper, essentially. So not only did I use some of this, but I am pairing it with black and pink paper. So I've got some of the collection cut, and then I also have some plain cardstock cut, and these are going to be our base layers. So what I've done, and what I've started doing lately just to extend the life of my my designer paper, is to pair it with plain colored cardstock. Sometimes it's white, sometimes it's, you know, black, whatever matches the collection. Let's see. In this one, it had a lot of green and yellow. So I'm sorry, it had a lot of yellow, so I used yellow, and black, so I used black. And then you can see my pops of red from the ribbons here. So we're also going to be using some coordinating ribbon today. Ribbon is another thing that I've started using pretty normally in my mini albums now, but you definitely don't have to use ribbon. Anywhere there's ribbon, you can choose to not put a closure, or you can use magnets or Velcro, or you know, whatever you like. So started out with these plain colors, and these are each of the panels that we're covering here is basically 8 by 11. So what I have is 8 pieces of 7 3/4 by 10 3/4 paper. If you don't want to use your plain paper, and you just want to go ahead and start using your designer paper at this point, then you can definitely cut your designer paper to this dimension instead and remove this step. But just kind of following along how I did it how I did it in this book, that's what I've done here. So the first thing you're going to do is decide where your pages are going to go. And I think I am going to do black on the cover. And if I do black on the cover, that means that I'm going to do black on both covers, the front and the back. And that's just my preference. You can do whatever you want. So I'm going to do black on the front and the back, which means I will do pink here, and pink here, and black here. And I'll move back into frame and get started. All right, so I'm just going to open up the base of the book to give us easier access to each of these panels. Okay, I went ahead and rifled through my designer paper pad, and I cut 8 pieces that are 7.5 by 10.5. And so these are going to fit right into our plain panels. So what you'll want to do is go ahead and decide if there is a particular way that you want these to be glued down. For the completed book, you can see that I have 2 sections that are pretty plain. This is just the cardstock, no embellishment. And then this one will be the same. I really only put this pocket in because of the particular image that was in the paper pad. I could still find something to go across here, but I'm not sure that I will. And then, so if you want specific pages for the plain pages, then you can kind of go through and decide where you want things. Of course, I always try to start with the cover because I want to make sure that I have something that I like as the cover. I am pretty fond of this one with the flare. They just look like little pinback buttons. Okay, so I glued down these panels of the designer cardstock, but I set 2 aside. So here's our front, and I set aside the one that goes here and the one that goes here because I'm gonna cut those up as part of the design when we cover them up, when we embellish them. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and add in our floating pocket. Usually I like to add it in and glue it down before I put this first layer of the plain cardstock on, but I oftentimes forget. So we are going to just adjust here, and you're going to get yourself a piece of white cardstock or whatever color you decided you're using, and it's going to be 10 inches by 6 3/4 inches. And this particular floating pocket is designed for a cut apart, a horizontal, or I'm sorry, a vertical cut apart like this. If you don't have one of these in your collection, you can just use plain cardstock, or you can adjust by putting it, by gluing it in sideways and having a floating pocket that pulls out this way and this way. But since I have this, we're going to go ahead and take our paper and we are going to score at 1/2 inch. And then at 5 1/4. Now this is going to be a pocket. If you want to put a notch at the top of your pocket, you can definitely do that. I'm not going to do that today. You'll see that in our finished book, I had originally glued the floating pocket in upside down. So I had closed it at the top portion before I glued it in. And then I had to kind of make this, do this little surgery after I figured it out, where I just cut it at an angle. And then I had to cut all of my mats at the same angle. And then I just took the glue and I just glued it together at the bottom to make this pocket that looks like it has a fancy design element when it was just covering up a mistake. So for this, we're gonna go ahead and do some glue work. We are going to just glue along the very edge, and we're gonna make a pocket. And then at the bottom, so let's see here. There we go. So now that that's glued down, we're going to glue it in. We're going to take our 1/2 inch tab and we are going to glue it right up into where this folds. So that inside spine. I'm just going to go ahead and glue that in, and you can glue it the height that you want it. Just remember that something is going to, your tag or whatever you put in here is going to pull out the top. So you want it to be at least a 1/2 inch or an inch below the top of your book. And I glued it on this side. You really can do these anywhere. Now we have our floating pocket where it needs to be, and we'll be able to cover this up with a strip of cardstock. Now just make sure that it opens at the top. Yay! I put that pretty high up there. Okay, so to cover our pocket, we have a couple panels that are four and 3/4 by 6 3/4. So we're going to go ahead and just find some paper that we like from the collection and cut 2 sections that are 4.5 by 6.5. So 4.5 by 6.5. And they're going to be in here, the little mat. So for our tag, we have 2 of these cut aparts that are 4 by 6. So I took a sheet of plain cardstock that is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and I'm going to go ahead and glue this down, but I'm also going to add a ribbon pull. So for these, I usually just take a couple inches of ribbon, fold it over, and I'm going to go ahead and use a tiny bit of tape to tape mine down because I don't know where my regular sharpener, oh my gosh, because I don't know where my regular stapler is. So I'm using the big jobby. This is my long reach stapler. But what we want to do is we want to staple it because that's the look we're going for, but we also want to cover up the back of the staple with this other cut apart. So I'm going to go ahead and staple it now, kind of in that area. And glue the other one on the back. Okay, we're going to work on this side. This is the area that has the ribbon closure waterfall. I did a little adjustment with the dimensions though. So the first thing I did was I cut a piece of cardstock that is 4.5 by 7.25. We're going to glue that down with the ribbon. So let's figure out our ribbon. Let's go ahead and glue this down with our ribbon. So we want the middle, relatively in the middle, and relatively in the middle of this. So again, you can use washi tape, you can eyeball it if you want to, but this just kind of helps me as I'm gluing. I just refilled this glue bottle and it is having a problem. I guess if air can't get in, glue won't come out. So that seems to be the trouble. And I am going to go ahead and put some glue on the top and bottom of this dude, just for extra. I'm just going to even it up here. Like I said, this book does have quite a bit of layers, quite a few layers by the time it's done. So now I went ahead and I made my waterfall pieces. Now this waterfall is really a design element based on the fact that we have these 4x4 cut aparts in our book. So if you don't have 4x4 cut aparts, you might want to do a 3x4 waterfall. You might want to do a waterfall with plain cardstock, but you just kind of do you. You may, if you've seen other tutorials of mine or other mini album makes, I do oftentimes gear the design elements in the book to whatever size or images are in the designer cardstock that I'm using. So I'm going to set these aside, and here are our waterfallies. So these are 4 3/4 by 4 1/4, and we do want it to be a square that mats our 4x4 cut apart. So we're going to go ahead and score at 1/2 inch on each of these. Fold and burnish. So we want to burnish pretty well. It's pretty hingy. So that would be here. So for this one, I want to put some contrast on the front here. So this looks good. To the birthday girl. So now I have all of these covered on the front side, and you can definitely, you see here that I cut some 4x4 squares of black cardstock to put on the back side. But this is just an area for photos, so you really don't have to mat it again. I think I'm going to use one back here just as a kind of a visual point. But otherwise, just to kind of even it up with the other ones. And then definitely you can put your photos in. There's a spot here for journaling if necessary. And of course, these areas can also be for journaling. I'll just glue this one in. I am perfectly happy with the one that I did that has the mat on both sides. But like I said, this book is really pretty bulky already. So don't want to add too much bulk. And so now I went ahead and cut our little pocket. I just took a plain piece of cardstock and I cut it down to 7.5 by 1 3/4. So this would be 7 1/4 by 1 1/2 And you can just glue it in wherever you want. Wherever you want. I am probably going to go just a little lower to kind of see the variety in the background. And this is not a gusset pocket, so you're just going to glue it on 3 sides. If you want to do a gusset pocket, then you just essentially make it a little wider and fold in the sides. Here we go. Make sure that the non-glued part is on the top. And glue down your strip. I don't know if it is helpful in these sorts of videos to have the pieces mostly cut and ready to go. Or if you like to cut them together. But just because of the timing of when I could film this video, I went ahead and cut all of my pieces. So this is the little folder that's going to go in this pocket. Now, this is also in here because this designer cardstock has these cut aparts that are horizontal 4x6. So I just took a piece of cardstock that is 8.5 by 6 1/4, and then I scored it at 4 1/4. And I have this one that has the opening I thought could be for journaling, so I am going to put that on the back side. There we have page 1 all done. I really like the way the black cut aparts just kind of sprinkled around really makes it look less busy for me for some reason. So we still have this waterfall that we haven't put anything behind. And so I am not sure. I'm still going to think about it. I still have a bunch of these that are already cut and ready to go in there, but I think I'll just kind of decide at the end. On to page number 2. We are starting with a piece of white cardstock that is 7.5 by 5 1/4. And this is a mat. We're just going to stick right here. To mount this, we have a piece of designer cardstock that is 7 1/4 by 5. And for the bottom, we have a piece of cardstock that again is 7.5. But, oh, and it's also 5 1/4. So got another piece that is 7.5 by 5.25. This one we are just going to glue on 3 sides. And we are going to make a pocket. And then I just happened to cut this piece so that it kind of matches the piece on top. Now with our pocket, we are going to build a little section that opens. Just like this. But first, we'll go ahead and build our top open mat. So I just have a piece of pink cardstock here. That is 8.5 by 6.25. And then I scored it at 4.25. We're going to glue this so that it is matted. But first, go ahead and mat this up. So I just went ahead and put white for either photos or journaling. That down in the bottom, and I got another one for the inside top. So these of course are just 6 by 4, if I didn't say that. There we go. And this one just glues down flat. I'll try to get this as even as possible. So there we have our top folding. And now we're going to go ahead and make our little section here. So essentially what we're going to be doing because we are going to be creating these two little pieces that open this way. Okay. So for this, we have one piece of white cardstock that is 6.5 by 4 1/4. And then we have two little pieces that are 3.5 by 4 1/4. So these two that are 3.5 by 4 1/4, we're going to go ahead and score. And we just want a 1/4 inch score on each one. So 1/4 inch and 1/4 inch. There it is. There we go. Just wanted to be able to burnish these pretty well. And I'm just going to glue these little 1/4 inch hinges to the back of this white piece of paper, and that's going to make our little gatefold element. Let's see. So for the outside, we're just going to put 2 pieces of plain cardstock. You'll see in our completed one, it looks something like this. These two just go in here. Now I just have a piece of 6 by 4 that I'm going to fit right in here. This definitely could be a 4 by 6 cut apart, but I just figured that it is for a photo. It seems like a section for a pretty big photo reveal, so I'm just using a piece of the regular designer cardstock. Okay, so So I'm not going to build the rosette yet because it gets a little bulky. So aside of the rosette and the backing for it, this page is done. These two pages are plain, so they're essentially done, but we will look through whatever scraps are left in our paper pack and see if there's anything that we really want to add. I do use the paper pad to kind of help me decide what design elements are going to end up in the mini album. So here I have a section that's just like that, where I'm using the paper pad and the way that the images are to help dictate what elements go into this page. So this is a whole sheet of 12 by 12 tags in the book. And you can see in our finished album, this sheet, or this strip, was one of a cut apart. And so that kind of dictated how I would use a whole section of this page, just to kind of highlight these sentiments or these words. And then I put these next to it to kind of fill in. So I did somewhat the same by using the tag page here. You can see that I did end up cutting into one of the tags. However, it just kind of had that break in it right about there anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue this down. If you wanted to, you could make a tuck spot, but I didn't do that just because there's so much going on in this book. I didn't feel like really needed too much of that. So I went ahead and cut the strip of the tags, and I just cut a strip of black cardstock so that it would mat this piece of the designer cardstock. And for our two sections here, our two little folds, you can do one horizontal and one vertical if you like. I just took a piece of cardstock that is 8.5 by 4 1/4. Just going to go ahead and score it at 4 1/4. That's going to make our two little squares. For these, I do also want to use magnets, so I'm going to grab my magnets wherever they went. Take all the random things off of them. I'm going to need one here. And one here. And while I'm at it, before I forget, I'll put one here. And another one here. No, not that way. How about this one? Okay. One here. So just add that other magnet on the top of it, take the backing off, close it down so it meets. Now we're ready to mat. So I already went ahead and cut 2 of the cut aparts out, so those will go on the front. Let's see. These are just more 4x4 squares of cardstock. So that page is done. Okay, so we're at the tail end here. We still have quite a ways to go, even though we're at the tail end. But so here on this page, I'm doing 2 sliding pockets or 2 sliding tags. So in our finished book, you can see that I have these 2 that slide, and these tags are basically the same design. I did use the staples, and I figured if I had staples on one of the tags, I should have them on, you know, kind of throughout, and then this one as well. So we're going to achieve the same result here. I have 2 pieces of cardstock, black. So of course, whatever color that you're wanting to use for your pockets. These are 6 3/4 by 9.5. Had to go digging for my scoring tool here. So we are going to score at 4 3/4, and that's going to give us the score right down the middle. These are both the same size, so the same score mark. Oh, that does not look right at all, does it? So I am just realigning the score mark in this paper. Since it's going to be glued down, it's not going to matter so much if one side looks a little wonky from the score marks. So you can go ahead and make some notches if you want. I am not going to notch because I'm putting the ribbon pulls on my tags. So let's figure out where we're going to put these. Here. One will go here and one will go here. And I'm going to go ahead and put the pockets together and cover them before adhering them to the book. Might make it a little easier. Hopefully my glue bottle is going to cooperate with me today. Again, we are making a pocket that is side loading. So I am just going to put a small line of glue on all the sides, or on the two sides. So our pocket will open from here. I'll go ahead and glue this down. Okay, we have our two slide side pockets. And I went ahead and got all of the stuff together to make the two tags. Let me move this out of the way. Fabulous. Okay, so now I just really have the finishing touches. I did want to revisit this section though. I hadn't put the layers of 4x4 black cardstock on the backs of these. And so it kind of looks unfinished to me, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. We created a pocket here, so I went ahead and cut 4 more of the vertical cut-aparts that are 4x6, and I'm going to go ahead and make those into tags. You watched me make 3 tags already, so you don't have to sit with me while I do that. I'll be right back. Okay, I have my 4 vertical tags ready to go. They have cut apart on one side and then just some of the plain paper on the other. And they go right in here. Now the last thing that I have to do is make a couple rosettes. So I'll go ahead and do that off camera. And I'm going to go ahead and put one here as a closure with the magnet, and then one for the front. Okay, so we just have a couple of things to finish up here. For the spine, which is 1 inch wide, I went ahead and cut a strip of the designer paper that is 3/4 of an inch wide, and then of course it's 10 3/4 tall. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue that down, and then I have one that's exactly the same size for the inside of our book. So probably going to move this way. So we've got the spine and this middle spine piece, that one that's the same size. Now I went ahead and made 2 rosettes. I did use a cut apart sentiment from the paper pad, because this is a paper pad and not a collection kit with the sticker sheet. I just kind of had to make do. You could definitely use a small punch and use a plain, just round piece of plain cardstock to cover up the hole in the rosette, but I found these. And so the first one we're going to do is going to go here, and so that's going to close this. But since it was so busy, I decided to take a 3.5 inch circle, and I'm going to glue the rosette to the circle, and it'll kind of, you know, bring your eye into the rosette. What I did is I cut another circle and sliced it in half, and glued the one side down, thinking that I was going to like it this way, but then it was too busy. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down, but I'm only going to glue it on one side. I'm going to glue it over this piece, so it'll kind of guide where that's going to be. And then you can see I have this magnet on my finger because I want to make sure that the magnet knows where to go. I'm just going to glue this down first to our circle. And I'm going to put it at a little bit of an angle. You kind of use angles in my book sometimes just so that things don't have to be perfectly aligned and that they look good even if they aren't perfectly aligned. And then I'm just going to glue one side of this down. So I'm going to use that half circle as my guide for my glue. Kind of let the magnet do its work and kind of line that up here. And there you have it. You can definitely go in and cover this half up. I'm just going to leave it plain. For the rosette for the front, I am going to go ahead and center it on another circle of the 3.5 inch, punch circle. You may have recognized before now that I made a pretty large, small mistake compared to our completed book. And we'll go ahead and fix that now. As soon as I get this glued down. Just put this in the corner here. And again, you can do it straight or at a little bit of an angle, whatever you like. I'm going to give that a second to sit. And what I didn't do when we started adhering our pieces is I didn't put the ribbon in for the closure. So I was looking at it and I was like, well, maybe I can put something across the front here, just like a strip of paper, or, you know, a strip of the designer paper or plain cardstock. And then I realized that I just wanted it glued down on one side. So I'm going to do something a little different here. I went ahead and cut a strip. You see how that rosette keeps it kind of a little off balance. Set that there. How about this? Get that out of the way. There we go. Much better. So I went ahead and cut a strip of black cardstock, and then I went back to my page of tags, and I am going to glue this on top. And now a little more at the end. So what I'm going to do is find the center and glue it to the center of this strip of paper, so just about there. And again, just as a safety, I'm gonna go ahead and add a piece of low tack tape just to kind of keep it in place while I do all of the gluing. Now, because of where this rosette is, I want to make sure that I'm going to be able to just go ahead and close and tie this shut. I want a closure. It doesn't really need to be, you know, it's just kind of keeping all of the pages from opening. So anywhere, you know, from here over is going to be fine. And I think I'm going to go ahead and try to glue it off to the side a little bit. It's going to look a little different and not be 100% practical, but I don't want it in the very middle. So let's see here. So I think just about here. Just eyeing from the other side, or where that rosette is. I'm just going to go ahead and give it some glue underneath the ribbon at the top and the bottom. And then go ahead and glue everything down. Just about here is good. Oh, whoops. Whoops. All right. And then this. And I'll fuss with that a little bit, probably the next couple times that I tie it. But otherwise, our book is done. I hope you enjoyed this build. Don't forget that thumbs up and comments help me grow my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget safety first.